Probably the biggest discovery out of everything was that
Yeah.
behavior is a voice. What we want you to know is this, that your child's behavior is telling you a bigger story than what you can see with your eyes. That right there changed everything for me.
Welcome to the Honestly Adoption Podcast, a show about adoption, foster care, advocacy, and becoming the best caregiver possible. Pull up a chair. We're glad you've joined us. Here are your hosts, Mike and Kristen Berry.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Honestly Adoption Podcast. We are so glad you've tuned in. My name is Mike Berry. I am one of your hosts along with Kristen Berry, and we are sharing a very special audio recording for today's episode. You may or may not know this, but we this last week we have been hosting a free 3-part live workshop called the Trauma Knowledge Transformation. It's been amazing. Over 1,000 people have signed up and have gone through this workshop. We have been diving into really reframing our perspective on our child's trauma history, the behaviors we see, and really how to build lifelong attachment and connection with them. And the reason why this is so crucial is that when we can reframe our perspective on what's really going on, when we can gain understanding of what's really going on with our children, it transforms our journey. We can develop a heart of compassion, change our approach, do things differently, and parent effectively. And that's what we've been talking about this past week. And today, officially, we've opened up enrollment to our online course and coaching program, Trauma Knowledge Masterclass. It's open for enrollment, and we're offering a fast action bonus when you register by 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time this Sunday, June 25th. We're giving you our crisis response kit for free. Plus, we have added a group coaching and a one-to-one coaching for 8 weeks as a part of Trauma Knowledge Masterclass when you sign up through the premium or platinum levels. We're including all the information in our show notes, but you can jump over to traumaknowledgemasterclass.com to learn all about this exciting opportunity to dive deep into your parenting, what's really happening with your child, reframing your perspective, and changing your parenting and your relationship with your child. You can also still get access to the entire 3-part workshop, Trauma Knowledge Transformation, by visiting traumaknowledgemasterclass.com/transformation. The workshop is going to be available until this coming Thursday, June 29th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and enrollment into Trauma Knowledge Masterclass is open only until this coming Thursday, June 29th at 11:59 p.m. as well. And we are only opening this up once a year because we have the coaching aspect to that. We have 8 weeks of coaching that's included with Trauma Knowledge Masterclass. Plus, there's a whole closed community where you can interact with other members of Trauma Knowledge Masterclass. Don't miss your chance to join. And we only started off with 30 open one-to-one spots, coaching spots, and we're already down to 20. We've already had 10 of those spots claimed. So don't wait to grab your spot. If you need, here's the thing with the coaching. The one-to-one, the group coaching will involve other people who have signed up for the premium level, but the one-to-one coaching is Zoom. It's a weekly Zoom call with myself and Kristen, and what we're going to help you do over 8 weeks is develop a behavior plan and a safety plan that's customized for your family. We're going to dive deep into your situation, your story, and we're going to workshop this together. So that is all part of Trauma Knowledge Masterclass. You can grab both the 3-part live workshop at traumaknowledgemasterclass.com/transformation. You can enroll officially into Trauma Knowledge Masterclass course and coaching program by visiting traumaknowledgemasterclass.com. We hope to see you inside the masterclass. The audio that we're sharing today is actually audio from session 1 of the Transformation Workshop, where we talk about behavior is telling us something way more than what we see with our eyes. It's actually a window into something much bigger. You're going to love this discussion. And as always, if you're new to the show, make sure you jump over to our podcast website, honestlyadoption.com/podcast. You can get caught up on past episodes, plus learn more about what we do at the Honestly Adoption Company. You guys, we are glad you're here, and now on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome. I'm excited to be here.
Me too.
Good to see you guys. Let me get us back to full screen. There we go. Hello everybody. I'm Mike Barry.
I'm Kristen Barry.
Right here.
Distracted by the chargers.
Oh wow, yeah.
I thought I cleared everything off.
Real life here, people.
That's where we make our kids
Real
plug
life.
their phones in.
Yes, guys, we are so excited to be joining you for the Trauma Knowledge Transformation Session 1. We're talking about a new discovery, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. We are excited you guys are here. We can see you guys coming into the live room. Do me a favor, if you can hear us okay, if you can see us okay, drop in the chat. Yes, I can see you. Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, there we go. Man, they're coming in like crazy. Here we go. All right. You guys type in so fast, like it's insane. I can't even read it. Yes. It's cool. Well, listen, we are coming to you from the great state of Indiana, central Indiana. I know we got a couple of Hoosiers in the house joining us for this workshop. This is awesome. 3-part workshop. We are excited to get back to this. Man, this is going to be a fun journey together. Because as we've been telling you guys, this workshop is all about helping you as a caregiver reframe your perspective on your child. Guess what? We are not going to talk about becoming the perfect parent.
We're not.
Does not exist. Are you bummed?
No,
That's good.
Well,
that
I thought
good.
you were going to tell me how to be the perfect parent.
Yeah. Do you notice how I looked at you? Like,
yeah, I was
we're not going to tell you how to be the perfect parent. And you were like, really? Dang. Yeah, bummer.
That's why I signed up.
If you
That's
guys are
why
here
my kids
for that,
signed me up for this.
They signed you up.
They were like,
Yeah.
Mom,
Yeah, you need help, Mom.
Get a
You
training,
need help, man.
please.
Get in there. Get in that workshop. Yeah, we're not going to talk about being the perfect parent. We're not going to beat ourselves up either. Okay, listen. You are doing the best you can do. We're doing the best we can do. Right. This journey is very hard. It is hard to make sense of our child's trauma history. It's hard to make sense of behaviors. Sometimes you feel like I have no idea what to say or what to do with this child. And the reason why we created this workshop, the reason why we also created a Trauma Knowledge Masterclass coaching program, which we're going to tell you about here in a little while, is to help you navigate all of these tricky waters, right? To have a plan, to have the answers when it comes to the meltdowns in the grocery store or Costco, or I guess Costco is a grocery store, right? Or
I've never been there.
Or the middle of a not whole field, a baseball diamond, standing out on the diamond, child melts down. True story. It happened. So we're going to walk through all of this and give you guys the best possible answers that we have discovered in our 20+ year journey. So with that said, we're going to jump into this, but where are you guys listening to us from? Drop in real quick. We love to see where everybody's joining us from. City, state, country. You got a New Jersey already. You got a Tennessee, Arizona, Arkansas, Illinois, man, Joplin, Missouri. You guys are from all over the place.
Lots
This
from
is
Canada,
super cool.
North Dakota, Tennessee, Alabama.
Wow. Somerset,
Okay.
Kentucky. I saw
We
that
lost
in there.
it all. I love it.
Wow. Look at this. Missouri, Ontario. All right. Boston's in the house.
UK.
Elizabethtown. Yeah. This is so cool. Yeah. Washington, Indy. Woohoo. We got a fellow Hoosier here with us. California. I saw a Californian there. UK. That's awesome. We got another UK. Sweet. Oh, Scotland. One of our team members, Beaver, just texted us. Scotland's in the house too. Awesome. Ohio, go Buckeyes. That's our state. We're both from Ohio originally. Columbus, Cincinnati. We're full-blooded Buckeyes. Sorry, we do have a Michigan in the house, but that's okay. We do actually acknowledge that Michigan is a gorgeous state. So yeah, we
acknowledge it.
We do acknowledge that, right? Sports, another story, right? Got an Avon, Indiana. It's our neighbors, man. We're just north of Indianapolis.
Just say,
it's awesome.
We're waving to you right now.
Yeah, we're up on the north side. Man, I love it. I love it. I got an Alabama, Germany. I'm wondering if we have anybody from Australia, because remember, we've had people from Australia. I think you guys have to get up like super early. Maybe that's the 1 p.m. time slot.
That might be the I will listen in later slot.
Yeah, but we've had a couple of people, brave souls, get up at they get to get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So if that's you, you're amazing. All of you guys are amazing. So we just want to say that.
Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
Wisconsin's really pretty too.
It is, yeah.
I am going to sneeze. I'm really sorry.
Oh no, no. You want me to mute for a second?
Nope.
Okay. 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 So, couple of housekeeping things that we want to let you know of. You are joining us on the wonderful World Wide Web. Wish you guys could join us face to face, but I'm going to tell you here in just a few moments how we're going to kind of remedy that. Hopefully, we're going to have technology the next time we do this workshop where we can all be face to face, because we really love to connect with you guys. It's awesome to have you guys in the chat. By all means, blow the chat up. Ask all the questions you have. Next time we'll be face to face. But since we're broadcasting online, and you guys know this, the wonderful World Wide Web doesn't always cooperate. And you guys being all over the world, Germany, Florida, California, Canada, UK, we're spanning the globe, man. You guys have different connections, different bandwidth. So if you lose any of our sound or our video, best thing you can do is refresh your browser, log out, log back in, just click the links, get right back in. And that's how you can remedy that, because really there's nothing we can do on our end, but I just want to give you those housekeepings, because every now and then we have people that are like, I can't hear, what do I do? That's the best solution. Wonderful World Wide Web. Couple of things I want to tell you. If you have not already checked this out, make sure you check out our special concierge page. It should be coming up right there. I'm looking at our second monitor, coming up right in the chat. We created our participant concierge page just for you guys, with a full schedule, access to all the broadcasts, access to the broadcast replay. So as soon as we're done here, the little video the little icon you clicked on to join this broadcast, broadcast 1 will turn into the replay link. It's pretty quick. Maybe takes like 5-10 minutes. So if you came in late, and you're just joining us, you haven't really missed anything, but you can check that replay out, because it'll be linked over there minutes after this is over. That's the concierge page. Just click that link. You can save that little that little URL in your browser, because that's going to serve as our central hub for the next week as we hang out together. So anything you need, you can connect with our team over there. You can log in, connect to the Facebook group. We have a special Facebook group just for you. So if you've just joined us, just signed up, make sure you jump over there, send us a request to join the members only, the attendees only Facebook group, because we're going to be doing a lot of interaction over there, even doing some live, I think a few live broadcasts over there as well. So that's the concierge page. I'm going to leave that up for just a moment. Again, you can get the full workshop schedule, all the links, downloads. We actually have a special download for this session. We're going to load those up per session. So today, session 1, right below that, we have a special PDF. It's a guide for session 1. It gives you some of the key takeaways that we're going to be talking about. And then right next to that are all the slides. So typically, I always forget to say this until like we're almost all the way through the broadcast, but I actually remember this time that you don't, if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't keep up. What was that one point? Oh, they just moved the screen and I missed it.
Don't worry.
We got the slides for you. It's the exact
You're
slides
remembering a lot of information.
am.
I'm offering nothing.
That's
here.
Okay.
Just encouragement. Good
Thank
job.
you. Just keep nodding. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because when you offer amazing information, that's all I can do is nod.
Oh,
because,
okay.
Yeah.
We'll just each take
We'll just nod at each other.
I'm like,
right?
wow, this is a lot of information.
Oh, it is.
Should
Yeah,
I
man.
be taking notes?
No, you do not.
I don't need
have
to take notes.
It's all on the concierge page.
I'm
Good
learning
news.
So much already.
You are. I'm so glad. So concierge page, TraumaKnowledgeMasterclass.com/concierge. You can click that link. It's right there. Now I'm going to take this down because I want to put up the next thing. And that is, if you click that link, it's going to take you right over to the download for this session. Now, the cool thing is we have some really special downloads for all 3 sessions. The guide for this one, next session tomorrow will be our new behavior response blueprint. We're actually updating the behavior response blueprint that we've been sharing now for a couple of years. adding some new content to it. It's going to be really, really cool. We're going to drop it in tomorrow to the concierge, so it's not available yet. I want you guys to just pace yourselves, right? We're just doing session 1 right now, right? Just talking about this new discovery. And then tomorrow, everything will be live for session 2. So click that link. I'm going to leave that up for just a little bit. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Let's do this, you guys. We're going to be super tech savvy here, and we're just going to keep the concierge page link up, because here's the thing. On the concierge page is the link to the download. Aha. So see, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Perfect. There. Yeah. So I just want to make sure there's not any other housekeeping items. I got them all, guys. So with that said, we are going to share our screen real quick. I need to share. I think this is going to work. Hopefully it will. Got to find my slides. Bear with me, you guys. I know they're here somewhere. I literally just had them up. Am I just not seeing them? I'm literally just not seeing them for just a second. So hang on, guys. I got to make sure that that I find these just to get us in the right place. I promise, if we had our kids here, they would be like, boom.
No, that's what I say every time. I'm
all
like,
the time, yeah.
Kids, can you fix this for me? I feel like your grandma back in the day.
We got it. We got it, guys.
We did not. We did not.
Technology.
I just sat here trying to radiate encouragement, because I did
love,
not know where
vibes,
they were either.
All that good stuff.
I knew we had them because we just looked at them.
It's true. The other thing I want to tell you guys as we get started with session 1 here is that if we are, I think on our little second monitor here, we see ourselves in like a. We've had people tell us in different forms how this thing comes through. But if you're seeing us like on your screen, you can see us both together on the screen. Awesome. If not, some of you guys are seeing like a little circle and half our heads are cut off. Just kind of ignore that. We're going to keep it on for connection. But as we jump through this, we're going to broadcast that way. So get our slides up and let's get started. So if you are brand new, if you just signed up for this workshop, maybe a friend sent you the link, told you guys need to sign up for this workshop. We are Mike and Kristen Berry. We've been parents for, I think actually it should say 23 years, if I'm not mistaken, 23 years. We were foster parents for 10 years, co-founders of the Honestly Adoption Company, which exists to provide support and training and resources to help you become the best caregiver possible. That's what we're all about. We're also the co-hosts of the Honestly Adoption podcast, which is a super fun, that's a super fun project we get to work on every single month, because that show just spans around the globe. It's super cool to see every month where people are listening from. I think we're up to like 70 different countries right now. We're parent trainers and coaches. Some of you guys have probably been to a lot of our trainings. Some of you guys, I noticed a few names in there, have actually participated in our one-to-one coaching that we offer through Thrive Coaching. And again, as I said, we specialize in helping parents gain a simple understanding of trauma and how to respond to and successfully manage trauma behaviors. We spend most of our time talking about that. You can find out more about us at honestlyadoption.com. Of course, you get emails from us. You're going to have links to all that. So again, we'll send you these slides. So don't worry about trying to keep up. Guys, I want to give you a quick workshop schedule. This is all over in the concierge page, but real quick, just so you know what we have going on. This is session 1 today. You're here. If you're watching this live, that means you have joined us. If you're watching the replay, welcome to you. Today, we're talking about a big discovery that we made years ago that changed our parenting. In fact, that's really the idea of reframing our perspective on our children's trauma and behaviors is really what the game changer is all about. Tomorrow, session 2, June 20th, that's at 3 p.m. And then here's another thing. I'm going to tell you more about this later on, but this is all leading up to the opening of Trauma Knowledge Masterclass and Coaching Program. We have added this amazing coaching aspect to our flagship course, Trauma Knowledge Masterclass. The early bird opening just for you guys is tomorrow, right after session 2. I'm going to tell you more about that. We're going to tell you more about that. The makeup day is on Wednesday, June 21st. And here's what we really wanted to tell you. So it's kind of a bummer because we tried. We were like, man, we need to add some new technology so we can actually connect face to face. Because we do a lot of what we do. We do a lot of calls, coaching calls, trainings over Zoom. Right. Which we're actually doing a training tomorrow night for another organization, and I think it's all through Zoom.
Right.
It's fun because we get to actually see people face to face. If those of you guys that have been on our coaching calls or gone through our one-to-one coaching program, it's all through Zoom because we can connect face to face, even though we may be, states or countries apart. So bonus training. Here's what we're going to do, guys. On Wednesday night at 8 p.m., we are going to throw open a Zoom room for you guys. It's only going to come out to you guys. Where this is face to face. This is going to be through Zoom. And here's what we're going to do during that training. We're going to actually walk through. We have a special training that we do where I think we call it like what to do when. Mm-hmm. And it's like different behavior scenarios that we have outlined. It doesn't cover everything, but it covers a lot. And that bonus training is going to be all about walking through, though it's going to be kind of an encore training just for you guys. Plus it's over Zoom. So we get to go face to face, and then we're going to answer all your questions. That's Wednesday the 21st at 8 p.m. Thursday, or session 3 is Thursday. The workshop concludes Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, and then that is also the day that we're officially opening up Trauma Knowledge Masterclass. The early bird and the official opening are going to come with some really cool fast action bonuses. I'm going to tell you more about the early bird opening later on, and of course, you can find out all of this over at traumaknowledgemasterclass.com/concierge. So. Here's the question. Why the trauma knowledge transformation, right? Why do we call it the trauma knowledge transformation? Well, let me advance our secondary slides here. This is a picture we often like to show. This is of our family, at least the family, most of our family, wasn't everybody. Yeah. From 2000, I think this was 2009. And we've started out a few faces.
Yes, judging by that tiny little baby, the size of a baby doll.
That's true.
That was 2009.
That was 2009. Yeah, that seemed like yesterday, but it was 2009. We were smiling in this picture, but the reality is we were struggling. I mean, as I look back, we were actually working through our slides today and just kind of making updates and everything. And I remember looking at this picture and thinking, wow. We're smiling, but man, I remember just being exhausted.
Yeah.
I remember being really, really tired. The struggle that we were having was a real struggle. And see if you guys can identify with this. No one told us how trauma had impacted our children, right? When we signed up as foster parents, and we often share this story when we got our license, we had people that told really awesome stories.
Well, there was one story that I think gave us an indication that trauma was going to, inform the child's experience in our home. I can think of one story, and that stuck with me. Mm-hmm. I can still picture the story clearly. The woman who was teaching our class did a great job.
She was amazing.
It was about a child who'd only ever shopped for groceries at like a corner store, mm-hmm. something that we're familiar with here in Indiana. And the child jumped out of a moving car and ran to this corner store. Yeah. And as the foster mom is thinking, what in the world? She's starting to realize I bet she's going there. I mm-hmm. bet that's where she thinks she can meet up with her family. Mm-hmm. That was something familiar to the child. So she did a really good job of telling that one story that stuck with me so that I started to remember what else is going on here with my child. The rest of the 20 hours of training.
20 hours.
I mean, everybody here.
Everybody's been. Right, a lot of you guys are foster parents.
But the rest of that was
we talked through like state laws. We talked through
right. And those things are important too, but it didn't play out in our home. With the exception of the one story about the foster daughter jumping out of the moving car.
Right.
Nothing else really felt applicable to our everyday life. So there we are in that picture with 2 kids who were crying constantly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All the time.
A preschooler who was already being asked not to come back to the preschool.
Yep.
At that point. A teenager. We had... at that point, I don't know how old she was, 16 maybe. So a teenager going through the experience of trauma.
Yeah.
And our life wasn't playing out. That knowing the state laws was helpful.
Yeah.
but that wasn't what we needed in our everyday existence.
Yeah. I mean, I recall like walking out of there feeling like, man, I know what to expect for the most part when a case manager comes over, like what they're going to look for, and a little bit about of the laws, but no
where
one
the
told
courthouse
us.
is, and are we allowed to be in court? And you know, my understanding now is a lot of parents don't even know those rules. So I'm glad we knew some of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a lot of everyday, you know, what are you going to do when?
Yeah.
And that's where the transformation comes in.
Yeah.
That's why this piece is so important, because
Totally.
if we had a different understanding back when that picture was taken, we would have been doing everything else around that picture differently.
Yeah. I mean, this is what the struggle was for us. I remembered specifically back when right around that time that picture was taken, you know, we were dealing with some major behavioral issues, right? And guys, here's the thing. I often tell this to our coaching clients, that there isn't anything you could tell me that we haven't already experienced. I mean, you name it, or if it's a little bit like something we haven't, we could identify out of just the fact that this journey is hard. But this is why we struggled. I remember looking at our kids and their behaviors and thinking, you know what? Doggone it, this is just a rotten kid. They just want to ruin everything we're doing. They're acting spoiled. They're acting entitled. Nothing's good enough for them. You know, anything I say, it gets thrown back in my face. Literally, I would take the behavior at face value. And you're going to hear us say, you should never take your child's behavior at face value. We'll get into that more when we talk about behavior response. But I remember that was the struggle for me. And here's the problem with that. You talk about your perspective. I responded from that perspective.
Right.
And that was my problem, because I did not know anything else, right? I had this one singular perspective, and I couldn't see anything else. Plus, I didn't have anybody telling me, actually, there's something bigger going on, right? I'm just curious. Like, I see a few people, writing in the comments in the chat. I don't see the first name. B. Mosley says, I so agree. I had no idea the behaviors we were seeing were very, quote, normal for a child, teenager that had experienced trauma. Exactly.
I think that's exactly
it. Yeah.
And our natural response to that is really what has caused all of us, our kids and ourselves included, so much heartache, because once we realized this is and I like that you put normal in quotes. It's a,
we don't know what normal is, do we?
Right. It's a normal response. It's a reasonable response. It's a telling response.
Yeah.
There is a reason, you know, back to the story about, from our trainer, the child wasn't jumping out of a moving car to be bad, which I think is kind of our natural go-to as humans. We're like, what a bad kid.
Yeah.
Who jumps out of a moving car? That's, you know, that's terrible. That's really disobedient, disrespectful, and dangerous. Except responding to life through the lens of trauma is normal. It's how our brains are wired. And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Christy says no one prepared you for the child and what it would look like. Yeah, nobody told us that. I mean, here's what I would love to just hear from the chat, because again, like I said, we wish we could be face to face, but chat is the best we've got. We feel connected to you guys, but do you identify with this? If so, we'd love to just hear like a same here, or yep, totally. Drop that into the chat, because I think this also helps when you see other parents saying, me too, right?
Me too.
we had a couple of people say, I'm so excited to connect with other parents. And I think just seeing this in here, guys, it gives us, it helps me even feel like, man, on the dark days, you all know we have a lot of them, this is good for us to see. Yeah, look at this. I mean, there's like, there's just a ton. I see some of you guys asking questions, but for the sake of time, we may hold some of those questions, because we're going to do a Q&A at the end where we answer as many questions as possible. I saw somebody ask if the special Wednesday night bonus training would be recorded. Yes, it will. And we're going to drop that into the concierge page. A lot of cool surprises we have with this entire workshop that we're doing. So, but yeah, this was the struggle, you guys. Oh, my slides are frozen up. Yeah.
I like this. I knew and still didn't know. I think that's,
man.
so much where we were like, man,
Yeah.
we're getting so prepared here.
I know.
And I come from an adopted family.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, well, that's okay. Like,
yeah.
So many generations in my family have experienced this. I'll have this firsthand knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, we'll just ring up a relative and say, you know, like, connect with our kid, tell us what to do.
Yeah.
Knowing is not the same as day in and day out. Knowing like, to your core
I feel
what's
like,
happening.
Yeah. I mean, any of you guys that have you know, ever played a sport, particularly football, it would be like saying, it would be like having somebody on a practice field being bumped around by practice dummies and then saying, all right, you're ready for the game. You put pads on and you get out there and you take the first hit and you're like, holy crap, what just happened? Right. I feel that's kind of what we felt. So that, you know, with this workshop and with Trauma Knowledge Masterclass, these are all designed out of some big discoveries that, you know, back to that picture all those years ago, in the years that followed that, talk about reframing your perspective. And we don't have time to go into the entire story that unfolded over the 4 years after that picture was taken. But as we think about it, the 3 discoveries that reframed our perspective and transformed the journey for us, that number 1, trauma changes the brain.
Yeah.
Right. And we know that, right? That's not new news to anybody. Number 2, that behavior is a voice. And number 3, that secure attachments are possible. We're going to dive into all 3 of these discoveries throughout this workshop. But these are the discoveries that we made. And what we really want to talk about in this first session is this, that behavior is a voice. Probably the biggest discovery out of everything was that behavior is a voice. And what we want you to know is this, that your child's behavior is telling you a bigger story than what you can see with your eyes. That right there changed everything for me. And guys, here's the thing. Like, I know we have a lot of conversations about this, but with one of our younger children, who's interesting now a teenager, so that makes me feel kind of old because we held him as a newborn baby. Yeah. But recently, this right here has resonated deeply with me because that child in particular, I've had a long hard road with that child in particular, and over the last like 6 months, so it hasn't been very long, I found myself looking at this child with this deep compassion. And sometimes when I'm looking at this child with that feeling, it's not in a good situation, right? Sometimes the behavior is extreme, but I think it goes back to this right here. The realization that my child's behavior is telling me a bigger story than what I can see with my eyes. That's transformational. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm thinking about this phrase and how it connects with every single person who's listening in, including you and me. Mm-hmm. So just yesterday, something was not going my way. Mm-hmm. I started to melt down. You went out the door, shut it harder. Let's say slammed it. You just tell your own story how you want to tell it. You interacted with.
Shut it brusquely. Brisker than normal.
You ran into another child out in the yard who was also frustrated, who yelled at you. You're like, I don't know why he's having such an attitude.
I didn't say that to him. I was a text I sent to you.
Okay, great.
So you know.
He circles around, comes in the back door, and yells at a different kid. It was
like a domino effect.
It was a domino effect. So what do I want people to know?
Yeah.
I was really frustrated yesterday. And what I want is for someone to be able to look at me and say, Kristen's a pretty good person. She's working really hard. She's trying really hard. She wants to be a good mom. I assume the best in her. And I'm pretty sure that something else is going on today that's making her feel frustrated. I would imagine that when you went out the door and slammed it, that you would want people to say, oh, like, 99.999% of the time, Mike closes the door quietly because Mike is a good person. I wonder what else is going on. Our child who got frustrated out in the yard and hollered at you and hollered at me and then hollered at another kid, is a really hard worker and a
Yeah.
really respectful kid and a really responsible
Yeah.
person. I wonder what else is going on. There were all kinds of things below the surface. And so
Yeah.
when I see a phrase like this, I think we often think that we're only talking about children in the foster care system, children who have been adopted.
Yeah.
But we are all more than what's happening in a split second.
Totally.
And I think that this becomes a transformation in part because we have stepped outside to have compassion, stepped outside of our initial response to have compassion for our kids. But we've also stepped outside of our initial response to one another,
Yep.
to, the mail carrier, to our own selves. And we've said, there's a lot more going on in my own life.
Yeah.
In my spouse's life, in the neighbor's life. When we start to do that, a whole new world opens up.
Yeah.
So that child that came storming back into the house, it was about something entirely unrelated to you and me. It had nothing to do with us at all.
Right.
But that child had to get to that part where they were able to communicate that. What I was mad about had nothing to do with you, but I had to get to the point where I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm not at all mad at you. I was mad about.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of like stepping back and saying, okay, what's really going on here?
Right. And I bring that up because when you talk about that child that has been difficult, the shifting of perspective. So now maybe the behavior is blowing up, but as we shift our perspective, step outside of what's happening in that moment, we start to see some specific things that relate to adoption and foster care for one.
Yeah.
And we know that you mentioned this child as a teenager. We know that identity is a big part of being a teenager. So now as we're stepping outside of those big feelings and big emotions, our compassion leads us to do something different.
Yeah.
Now we're thinking, something happened. It's Father's Day.
Yep.
And I know you love this dad, but I wonder if you're worried about your other dad.
Yeah.
There's always this way to find compassion when we remember that people aren't just the moment that you're seeing them in.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw this slide back up there. And again, this is all, you can download this note, but this was a huge aha moment for us. And this is the reason why we don't call this the trauma knowledge destination. We call it the trauma knowledge transformation, is because you're always growing, you guys.
Yeah.
We are too. Like the transformation continues to unfold. It's like a butterfly that's coming from, I can't think of the word.
A chrysalis?
Yes, there you go. Thank you. I was like, oh, what's the word? Now I'm gonna draw. I knew you got my back on that one. But this is a great unfolding, and I can tell you that way back in 2011, 2012, when we suddenly had somebody reframe our child's behavior and trauma history for us, that began a great transformation for us that's still going on today.
Yeah.
And we want to share it with you because when we discovered that, it was so revolutionary for us and it put us on a path of growth. We want you to be on that same path. So your child's behavior is telling you a bigger story than what you can see with your eyes. Now, to understand the voice of behavior, which is what we're talking about in this session, we must understand the impact of trauma. I'm going to put all these up there. Is this you or is it still me?
I have no idea.
We have a transition point here, but this may be me still.
I don't know.
I looked at you like, take it away.
Okay. The impact of trauma. So what trauma does is it distorts the perspective on the world around. This says them, but on the world around us, we've all experienced trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma disrupts healthy attachment and connection. Trauma dictates present behaviors, and trauma rewires our ability to understand cause and consequence.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about just 3 parts of the brain. Bear with us if you've already been in our trainings or you've heard this someplace else. We know that this is pretty common knowledge at this point. But the reason that we always touch on this is because we need to be reminded all the time. This is a constant conversation in the Berry household. The reminder that these 3 parts of the brain function to make up how we interact with the world. So first we have the amygdala. That's the alarm system. It lives inside of the brain. The prefrontal cortex is in the front, and it is the part of our brain that controls logic and reasoning, executive functioning, the ability to plan ahead or to understand cause and consequence.
Yeah.
The brain stem is the part of our brain that connects us with survival. This is going to keep our heart pumping. This keeps us breathing, even when we're asleep, even when we're in a crisis, even if we fall down and hit our head and we're in a coma, the brain stem is still keeping us alive. So the neural pathways are what gets the information from the brainstem to the prefrontal cortex.
And vice versa too. Like your prefrontal cortex is what's telling the rest of your body, hey, we're cool. It's cool. But there's a lot of neural pathways. And the disclaimer we always give is that, guys, remember, we're parent trainers and coaches. We're not neurosurgeons. So we focus on three simple.
Tons of fascinating parts of the brain that we do not understand.
But the neural pathway, this actually fascinates me the most, especially several years ago, our good friend, Dr. Ira Chasnoff, did a whole teaching around neural pathways. And I was fascinated by this. And you're really going to be fascinated when we talk about like disruption, because that it starts to make sense why your child's behaving the way they're behaving. But, the neural pathway, think of it like an information superhighway, right? That especially with the prefrontal cortex and the brainstem, constant communication back and forth. Brainstem's telling prefrontal, hey, heartbeat's in check, lungs are in check, body's functioning. Prefrontal cortex is saying, we're cool, we're calm, everything's good.
Right.
But, do you want me to keep?
I don't know. You were on a roll.
I was. I'm so sorry.
You put this little picture up here, so I thought you had a vision.
I'm so excited. Okay, so this is going to sound really weird, but this is actually, I was geeking out when I found this little icon I put here, because we're talking about disrupted neural pathways. I was like, man, what would be, I'm looking for like something that's just like a little explosion icon. This is actually a volcano icon. Now tell me what is more perfect when you talk about a neural pathway being disrupted than a volcano icon. But as Kristen just outlined, those three primary areas that we're focusing on in this training, prefrontal, amygdala, brainstem, what happens when we've experienced, let's just go like the universal, we have experienced trauma, right? So something scary happens. We're sitting here in the front part of our house, and we suddenly look out and there are dark clouds out on the horizon. The wind kicks up. Our phones start alerting us that there's severe weather coming. It happens out here often. That's why we're using this example. What happens is that little almond-shaped alarm that lives in the center of our brain, the amygdala, will pop. I think our dog just left the room. Weird. That little amygdala will pop. In other words, the volcano, right? There's an alert going off, right? Danger, danger, danger. Or, you're hungry, or you're tired, or you're afraid. And what happens is that neural pathway, that information superhighway, suddenly gets disrupted, right? So picture it like all of a sudden volcanoes is exploding, lava's coming out, it covers over the pathway, right? And now functionality is not coming from this part of the brain where logic and reasoning, self-control, because I'm looking over and I'm like, whoa, this is intense. I need to get to a place in my house that's safer. All my functionality is coming from right here in the brainstem, right? So I like to picture it like this. We like to picture it like this. Like picture it like, as I just said, like volcano erupts or there's a rock slide and the pathway becomes covered with debris, right? Lava covers it or rocks cover it. Now, here's what's interesting. We grabbed this picture because what we like about this picture is that this pathway, this roadway, it's not ruined, right? It's not, the rocks haven't slid across and washed the whole road out. What it's going to require is something like this, a front loader to come in and rock by rock or several rocks at a time, pick up each rock and move it out of the pathway and essentially open back up the pathway. So this is key understanding when it comes to our role as caregivers. We're going to talk more about this tomorrow in session 2. where we talk about re-regulation being our number one goal when our children have flipped, when their lids have flipped. I like to picture us as the front loader, right? So you think about your child. Your child suddenly flips, right? Is triggered by something. And all of a sudden, what was calm and cool, you're driving home from the zoo, you had a great day at the park, everybody's getting along, everybody's loving one another, and suddenly, right? Now the child is screaming, the child's throwing things in the car, the child's insulting you, insulting their brother and sister. All of a sudden, there's no more logic, there's no more reasoning, because this part of the brain is completely overridden. That pathway has been blocked by rocks, right?
Right.
Whatever it is, triggered by a neighborhood you drove through, triggered by a sight, a sound, a smell, you name it, the list goes on. Our job as caregivers is to come in and help that child re-regulate. So essentially, we're the front loader that picks up the rocks and moves it and clears that pathway back up. Now, you probably have a lot of questions with that. That's exactly what we're going to talk about tomorrow. We're also going to talk about in our bonus training on Wednesday night, right? So you got to hold on for just a little bit longer before we really get into that. But this is a great illustration of what what goes on in the brain, right? And some key areas of the brain that we as caregivers need to understand when we begin to understand and reframe that the behaviors we see are really a window into something much bigger.
Yeah, I love that explanation, because I think that those are the big questions we get all the time.
Yep.
But aren't you just spoiling?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I give my child a snack in the middle of a meltdown, am I just reinforcing poor behavior?
Yeah.
But what I have to remember is I've assessed the situation. Maybe I've looked and I see the rocks in the highway.
Yep.
And I think, but we can't push forward. What else is going on? Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Are you tired? Pants uncomfortable? Is it too loud in here? Did something happen? And by, using the proper tools, we're actually just clearing the space. And
Yeah.
I really love that illustration.
Yeah.
So there are two primary types of trauma. There's acute trauma and chronic trauma. Acute trauma is a traumatic one-time event. That's a car accident, a house fire, the loss of someone that you love, a death in the family.
Well, the example I just gave about the tornado coming across
yeah,
the street,
exactly.
which actually happened to me a couple of months ago. I was actually working out. We have offices next to our house right now that actually get rented out as an Airbnb. So if you find us on Airbnb, you can actually book a stay out here on our farm.
Yeah.
Little other
our
promotion
guests here
Yeah.
this week
So
are foster parents.
They are,
I was
right?
like,
I think
we have small world, full circle.
Yeah. I think we also have
So-
somebody else in a couple of months or something like that is also like an adoptive parent or
Yeah,
foster parent.
fun.
You can make all kinds of noise out here on this farm, and I promise you, nobody will hear.
It's kind of the
corn.
ideal.
It really is. The corn will not be offended, I promise. So there's guests out there this week. So we're broadcasting from our main house. And a couple of months ago, like I was literally on a Zoom call with one of our coaching clients when all of a sudden my phone just started going crazy. Like the weather.com alert and the wind. I thought the roof of the place was going to get torn off. And I looked at my client and I said, I got to go. And I just closed. She's like, no, worries. Because she could see it happening outside the window. I closed the laptop and I went running for this house. And as I was doing it, there was siding being torn off of our garage. It was insane. So as many times as we've used this story, it literally happened. And I got into this house and I'm like in the center of the house. And literally that traumatic one-time event, right? And it took a little time for the amygdala to calm back down.
Right. So then what's chronic trauma? Chronic trauma happens consistently over time. Abuse, neglect, food or housing insecurity, malnourishment, multiple caregivers, and on and on and on. We can fill in the blank. So what happens then? Our brains flip. So when there is a trauma, the alarm goes off. So the amygdala sounds and lets our body know there is an emergency. The prefrontal cortex is overridden, and our functionality comes from the brainstem or our survival mechanism. So after some time, the amygdala calms back down and the neural pathways open up. So we always use our hand to explain this. You guys already know it, so we'll run through it really quick. Our thumb is, I actually can't see myself in the camera, so I hope I'm here. Our thumb is our amygdala, the alarm system. That's going to fold inside of our brain. The fingers represent the prefrontal cortex. That's logic and reasoning, and our brainstem is represented by our wrist or the bottom part of our hand. So what happens? The alarm goes off. It says tornado's coming. The prefrontal cortex flips and we function from our brainstem. So you are running to the house. You're not thinking, I really better double check on our taxes from this year. No, that's not what we're doing. I wonder what we're going to have for dinner. I need to organize my closet in color order. We're not doing any of the things that we would be using our prefrontal cortex for. We are only surviving in that moment. And that's the purpose that alarm system serves.
So the difference.
Yeah. What's the difference? In a one-time event, your alarm system went off. You were like, siding is blowing off the house. I could die. You ran inside the house. So after a while, and that storm went on for a while.
It really did. It was scary.
That was kind of a whole thing. Once it calmed down, your prefrontal cortex began working again. Your brainstem wasn't having to take over and your alarm system's not going off anymore. So then the rest of the night, you're able to do some things around the house. You waited for us to come home. You probably, I don't remember, but you probably started some dinner and got your computer back out and sent a message to the person you were online with. I'm alive.
Yeah.
So
I mean, she messaged me and she's like, "Hey, are you good?" And I'm like, "I'm good."
Did you blow away?
And I was calm. I mean, the interesting thing is that for as many times as we teach this, I literally went through the acute traumatic experience, right? Like I'm sitting out in our guest house. I'm on this Zoom call. This storm literally blows in like in a moment's notice, right? It was no preparation.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like it's if you've ever been in that experience where suddenly something happens, you know, like we use the car accident, like all of a sudden you were driving to an intersection and bam, someone hits you, right? Airbags go out. You smell the weird smell that comes with airbag deployment. It's crazy, right? And all of a sudden you're like, your head is kind of like spinning, right? And your heart rate's up, right? And you, right? And when the storm finally kind of passed, and I could just take a few breaths, I could feel my heart rate regulating. I could feel it coming down, right? I could feel like my body's, the tenseness in my body just kind of relax, right? And you think about it, like, you know, we've all been in most of us have been in situations like that. I would just venture to say all of us have had a moment like that in some way, shape, or form. You begin to take those acute traumatic moments, and then you match them to what our children, a lot of our kids have gone through on a chronic basis. Right.
So what's happening
like
then
over and
when
over
we're
again.
Thinking about that alarm system going off? So that alarm system is saying, I'm hungry, but nobody is coming to feed the child. So what would happen for me when I was hungry and I was little, my mom would say, it's okay. Come over here. It's all right, Kristen. I'm going to get you some food. I will help you re-regulate. What happens to our kids that aren't getting fed? That alarm system's going off. The prefrontal cortex isn't being calmed. They're continually functioning from their brainstem. What's happening if a child is experiencing physical or sexual abuse? That alarm system is going off and going off and going off. And what happens is that that alarm system begins to malfunction. So now our alarm system is telling us that we're going to die when it's 5:45 and dinner's at 6. Our alarm system is telling us that this person is going to harm us when all it is, you know, the first grade teacher patting us on the back and saying, good job with your paper. So that alarm system is now not functioning the way that it was intended to function.
You know, one thing we're going to talk about, and what, I think this is actually, it'll be tomorrow and a little bit in our Wednesday night bonus, is that, you know, the idea well, the reality of perceived threat. A lot of you guys are parenting kids that you may say something like, "Hey, could you help me with?" And all of a sudden it's like, why are you yelling at me? Why are you, we just experienced that last night. I simply asked one of our kids in the calmest way possible. And it was just all of a sudden he just said, "You're always making me, do the hardest jobs," which I'm like, that's interesting because I'm not. I'm really not. And most of the time you figure out a way to get around doing any work at all. That's another story, but it's the idea of perceived threat. It's the reality of I don't know why I keep saying idea. It's the reality of perceived threat. Our children, because of the chronic trauma that they've gone through, because of their trauma history, are often in a state of survival, right? One of our current coaching clients, that is the story with their child, right? Always in survival mode. So we've had to walk through strategies like, okay, understand, here's the reframed perspective,
right?
That he is always in survival mode. So the interactions you have may be pleasant at first, but then they quickly descend into an ask or a demand or a manipulation. It's all survival behavior, right? So, yeah, here's the point. Behavior is a voice.
Right.
I want to stop for a second and just do a quick check-in if we can. How's everybody doing?
We have one question about not being able to see the slides. Don't worry. Those are going to come to you later, and you should be able to zoom in and reread through those again.
Actually, just quick point of correction. They're available now.
They're available now at the link that I forgot about, even though Mike told us about it.
Yeah, the link is right there above. I think it's above the chat, and it just says "Get access now." That's the concierge page, and that has all the slides. That'll be where the replay's at. It's got a full schedule there. So yeah,
anything you don't get right now, you'll be able to catch up with that later.
Yeah, we've got a great thumbs up, doing good stuff. Heather, I'm so glad to hear that. We got a heart from Micah. We're about halfway through, so we just want to check in with you guys and see how everybody's doing, how it's all being consumed. Looks like we're getting like a thumbs up, right?
Yep.
So you guys are good to go. And any questions you have, I know you guys have a lot of questions. We're going to actually answer as many questions as we can here in just a few moments. And of course, with our bonus training on Wednesday night, that's going to be a Zoom room, right? We're going to throw open a Zoom room, get as many of you guys in there as possible, answer as many questions as possible. And cool thing is we're going to be face-to-face, not just chat. So yes, the point is this: behavior is a voice. So this is what we often see with our kids. See if you can identify with any of this. The greedy kid. The child who's always lying, always lying, right? Manipulation. You're parenting the child who seems to always have an angle, right? Stealing, fear, aggression, the class clown, hoarding, entitled, defiant, fight, flight, or freeze. I saw in our comments, I believe it was from Micah, the behaviors. I can't think of what let's pull it back up because I want to see exactly what she said. I think this relates. I believe Micah said something about behaviors being internal or quiet.
Oh,
not easily.
Yes.
Let's see where it's at here.
Yep.
Let's see. I think it's up a little ways. Micah, if that was you, I'd love it if you drop that back in there because we're just getting close. There we go. Some of the trauma we have seen.
There we go.
Not outward behaviors. We have seen some that are silent and introverted.
Yeah. Yes.
Those are trauma behaviors, right?
Three of our kids lost their mom just recently, and we have had 3 different responses. So, and some of it is that it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'm just going to go hang out by myself now.
Yeah.
That's a trauma response,
totally.
As much as the child that's saying, "You were never my mom anyway. I didn't want to live here. Now my mom is gone," or the child who's crying, or all of those are trauma responses, including the one who said, "Those emotions down. Yeah. Everything's okay."
Including the child who's compliant, the child who is kind of Johnny on the spot. Always we are parenting a child like this who wants to help with everything constantly. And it's great because it's like, man, this is a super hardworking kid. But we also know that is this child in particular has OCD. And that is clearly a response to the trauma that he's gone through. In fact, in Trauma Knowledge Masterclass, when we talk, we have a whole module dedicated to behaviors. We actually talk about the child who is quiet, reserved, doesn't say much. I remember years and years and years ago having a child like that. She's now an adult and doing well, but thinking, wow, this kid is really, really quiet and respectful and, doesn't want to break any of the rules. And I remember I think it was a therapist that actually said, you need to pay attention to those behaviors.
Yeah.
You need to keep a finger on the pulse of those behaviors. Right. And I'm sure that you could, we've got like 10 new messages. I'm sure you guys could make a long list of all kinds of behaviors that you are seeing in your own home. Right. This is a very, very short list. Right. I saw protective in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, passive aggressive.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. Shut down. Yeah, so hard to help. Yeah, especially the child. We talk about connecting before you correct, right? Connect before you correct. It's really hard when you have the child. You see that they're experiencing some big feelings, right? They have those big feeling moments, and you work to connect with them. And what you say to them is, hey, how can I help you right now? Or, I see that you're experiencing some big emotions. That's got to be really hard. What can I do to help you? And the response is, I don't need your help, right? The big blow up. That's really hard to navigate, right? And we're going to talk more about that and other scenarios very close to that in session 2 tomorrow. This is what we see. But what's really happening is this, right?
Right. And I think a lot of you listed that in the comments too. It's protective behaviors.
Yeah, totally. 100%, right? We always forget who said this quote, but the quote, sadness is just, anger is just sad's bodyguard.
We have
something along those lines, right? I know we've got that quote somewhere, but
we have it's on
the behaviors.
Instagram.
It is the behaviors that we see are bodyguards for something way bigger, right? So anger may be sad's bodyguard. Agitation may be fear's bodyguard, right? The list goes on and on and on, right? And this helps us reframe what's really, really happening with your child. One of my favorite movies of all time, probably a lot of yours too, is Wizard of Oz, right? Now, if that, let me go back to that real quick. Yeah, who just said that? Slide down to the bottom right there. Someone said strong picture. Kristen actually drew this picture after hearing that quote, that anger is just sad's bodyguard. And this is actually, if you follow us at Honestly Adoption Co., that's our Instagram. This picture is over there as well as the quote. So yeah, jump over there, scroll down a little ways, you'll find that picture. But back to the Wizard of Oz, right? There's a scene in the Wizard of Oz, and if you have not seen the Wizard of Oz, I'm straight up about to spoil a big plot line for you. I'm sorry about that. You've had plenty of time to see this movie, people. This thing came out in like 1939, right? So just totally about to spoil it, right? But you know the storyline: Scarecrow, Cowardly Lion, Dorothy, Tin Man, Little Toto find themselves in the land of Oz. They're stuck. Dorothy's stuck, trying to get back home to Kansas. Cowardly Lion is trying to find courage. Scarecrow is trying to find what is Scarecrow trying to find?
A brain.
A brain. That's right. Yeah. And then Tin Man's trying to find his heart, right? And they finally, towards the end of the film, they make it in to see the wizard, right? This is what they've been trying to do. They make it in, And as they're seeing the wizard, they see, what do they see? They see this, like, this horrific picture up in the sky, this fire, flying up in this loud booming voice, and they're terrified, right? They're trembling, right? And this voice is saying things like, "How dare you approach the almighty Oz," and things like that. And on the outside, the wizard is terrifying, right? Because looking at this with their eyes, these four individuals see a horrific sight. But you probably know what happens next. While they're trembling in fear, little Toto trots over, pulls back the curtain to reveal not this horrific, awful, fire-breathing, angry wizard, but a kind, gentle, older man who's more like a grandfather, right? And I love this illustration, because isn't that exactly what is happening with our children, right? It's easy, as I said a while ago, to take your child's behavior at face value, especially, let's just be honest, caregivers, right? We're tired, right? I mean, even yesterday, the story that Kristen shared about, some of the interactions we have with our kids and some of their emotions. I'll be honest with you, when I was walking out of the house, my teenage son, like, snapped at me, and I didn't say anything. I just kept walking. But in my mind, I was thinking, what is wrong with you? Right.
Right.
And that's when I had to step back and say, wait a second, there's something else going on.
Oh, and it was so super simple. But I
Totally.
think our human nature is to, meet whatever emotion with the same emotion, but bigger.
Right.
Our kids are really prone to poison ivy. And it
Very
had
much
to
so.
do with poison ivy. It literally had nothing to do with either one of us.
Right. Nothing.
But here we are, kind of, coming up against that. And your natural reaction is like, whoa.
Yeah.
Don't yell at me. I don't even know why you're yelling at me.
Yeah.
And there's always something.
Yeah. So
more.
Again, when we're looking at our children's behaviors with our eyesight,
right,
and not with a reframed perspective, right, asking ourselves bigger questions, what's really going on here? Then all we see are bad kids behaving badly. But the reality is, there's no such thing as a bad kid. When you reframe your perspective, you realize there is no such thing as a bad kid. Let's be honest, guys. There's an origin for all human emotion, right? We're happy, we're excited right now because we get to connect with you guys, right? And we've been waiting for this for the last week to get on this broadcast with you and hear some of your stories. And we see a lot of questions coming in. We're happy, and there's a reason for that, right? We're happy because we get to do this. If we were feeling sad or lonely or nervous, there's an origin to all of that. So when you realize that, and you have a new perspective on what's going on with your child, you realize there's no such thing as a bad kid. Our role as caregivers is that we need to meet the need instead of trying to change the behavior. And I think back to 2009, the struggle was real, partly because we kept thinking we had to stop the behavior. We had to control the behavior. We had to end the behavior. And as you guys know, you can't control or stop or eliminate behaviors, right? They're going to happen. So now, through a new lens, we need to ask ourselves, okay, what is the unmet need here? And we need to meet the need instead of trying to change the behaviors. So here's some key questions to ask.
What is this behavior trying to tell me? And what am I really seeing here? Which I think we've covered. So
yeah. So this is where it begins. Let me actually put those back up real quick. This is where it begins. We talk about reframing this big discovery that behavior is actually a voice, right? Even in the midst of being in the weeds of the behavior with your kids, right? That they're raging, or the behavior's extreme, or even dangerous, or sometimes really, really scary. We need to be asking ourselves these two questions. It's key, right? So that brings up a brand new problem, right? Now that we know that behavior is a voice, how do we respond, right? Because you're probably thinking, holy cow, I don't know what to do. Good news, tomorrow, June 20th, 3 p.m. Eastern time. We didn't put the time on here, but you can find that over at the concierge page, on the concierge page. We're going to go live with session 2, and we're going to talk through the new behavior response blueprint, right? Some of you guys have probably been to webinars we've done where we talk through the blueprint, but we're going to add in some new discoveries, new talking points that we think are really going to benefit you and answer this question. How do I respond? How do I respond? So that's coming up tomorrow. Again, over on the concierge page, you're going to find out all the information on everything going on with the workshop. The other thing, and I was telling you about this earlier, tomorrow we're going to open up Trauma Knowledge Masterclass for our special early bird offering or early bird opening. It's just for you guys. And here, if you've never heard of Trauma Knowledge Masterclass, great news. I'm going to tell you all about it. But the most important things are that Trauma Knowledge Masterclass, we've just added a brand new coaching aspect to it. So along with our full-fledged 7-module course, we are also going to be offering one-to-one and group coaching for 8 weeks. So everything we're doing now, add the Zoom element to it, and we're going to be doing that for 8 weeks straight, starting the beginning of next week. We're also, through that one-to-one coaching offering, we're going to be doing customized behavior plans, one-to-one. With those of you that sign up, the platinum level has 30 spots total, and that's it, because that's all we can facilitate the one-to-one coaching with. But in that coaching, we're going to be doing customized behavior plans, customized safety plans based on your situation. So we actually consult with you on a weekly basis. We together design your custom behavior plan and safety plan. And then, of course, the entire course comes with 7 modules that we dive deep into trauma's impact, disruptive attachment, behavior response, regulation strategies, advocacy and communication, safety plans, crisis response, so much more. Here's the cool thing. When we open this thing up tomorrow after session 2, we're going to give you guys a special coupon to get $50 off. That's the early bird discount. So that's what's happening tomorrow. And with that said, I think we can jump back into the broadcast. Let me stop sharing. Should get us right back in there. There we go. We're back. And we would love to hear as many questions as you have for the remaining time that we have, which we want to respect your time. Let me actually take this off the concierge page. Hopefully you guys have gotten that
put
link.
The questions back up.
We'll
we
put the
have
questions
a few
back up.
written down.
Okay. Awesome.
And I was looking for a pen, but we don't normally sit right here. If you saw this room, you'd see why there's not a pen.
Let me answer
here.
one big question that I've seen it a couple of times. Yeah. I see that, do you offer a certificate that we've done this great training? Thank you for those kind words. Yes, we will. Here's the cool thing. On that concierge page, after the workshop's open. Now, a couple of things to note about the concierge page. The replays are only going to be available until June 29th, which is a week from this Thursday. So we have just about 2 weeks where they're going to be available. And after that time, the certificates will also be available for those of you that need certificates for training, right? So I know we're going to get a lot more questions on that. We'll address that. We'll let you guys know that. But the certificates will also be on the concierge page, right? So if you guys are watching the replay, we have a lot of people. Literally, there's like 1,000 people that signed up for this. Not everybody's able to attend live. All this applies to you if you're watching the replay, right? Early bird discount on Trauma Knowledge Masterclass, certificate, concierge page, replays. It's all there. So what other questions do we have?
Well, we have one about how to get DCS to be transparent. I don't have the definite answer for this, but what I do know is that we need this kind of information everywhere so that the people who are writing the child summaries, the person who is looking for a foster family in the moment, if that's the case, can begin to tell at least as much information as what they have when they're identifying a family. So that could be, if you are the one taking a placement, you need a list of questions that you're asking. Mm-hmm. And you need to create those yourself, but that would be something like, has is this child safe with younger children? Has this child had any sexually maladaptive behavior? This doesn't mean that your answer is no, but you do need to know. Will this child need a safety plan? How does this child interact with adults at school? How is this child interacting with adults in the home? Does this child have any other siblings? Do we know any diagnosis? Has the child ever taken medication for anything? We understand that there are a lot of gaps and holes, and we're certainly not blaming anyone, but we do know that there's some finagling of words when agencies are trying to find a placement for a child. So it's something like, we'll do best in a 2-parent home with firm, consistent parents. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Now tell me why. What is it that that makes it so that this child might not be safe with younger children? Something like that. But be prepared to ask those questions. Go to your ombudsman if you need to file a complaint. Find out who, if this is adoption, here we know who writes the child summaries in our state. Find who is writing those child summaries and encourage them to write something truthful. Yes, we want homes for children, but we do want safe homes for children where their needs are being met and they have proper accommodations.
Yeah, absolutely. What else?
All right. Let's see. We have the oversleeping teen. I'm just going to jump on that one really quick. I don't know why your teen is oversleeping. It could be because they're a teen. That's a really typical, I'm serious.
It's true. That's true. Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, how long could I sleep today? I remember my mom checking on me when I was about 12. I've always been a night person, and I got a little bit of freedom, and I wanted to stay up all night and then sleep all day. And that was just a part of my growing up. If your child is sleeping all day because they're struggling with depression, those are two different things. So make sure that, one, that you're aware that that's kind of a typical behavior. Two, make sure that you're working with a therapist also, so your child is having a way to touch base. Because teenage years, I think this child is 13. This is a time when our kids are going through a ton of physical and emotional development. Those are also times that they begin to process through the traumas that they have experienced. So with that new understanding, there become different ways to process through the things that happen to them. For instance, the first time that they're offered drugs and alcohol at school or, out in the community, wherever, and they realize they have the power to say yes or no. That can lead to further questions. Oh, wow. I know that one of my parents struggled with addiction, and now I realize maybe it was as simple as saying no. Or maybe it wasn't as simple as saying no. And now I'm beginning to process those more abstract thoughts. Okay, we had a question about anorexia. I'm not a therapist, so I cannot answer anything about that specifically. I do know that with disordered eating and disordered exercise, it is extremely important that you have a professional on board on your team with your child. I do know that trauma plays a role in that. And that is something that we've experienced within our own home. Experiencing those types of need to control. Food is an easy one to control. You can decide what you put in your body. So for a person who's had something that is out of control, the foster care system, adoption, just to name two, since that's in our name, food, it is, kind of an easy thing to transition to. I will control what I put in my body. I do struggle with that, with obsessive compulsive tendencies. And I'm sharing that because those are in response to things that feel out of control. When something is out of control, I want to go ahead and control and organize and order other things. So where that becomes difficult is where those behaviors become dangerous. So get a professional. I saw another question about, I want to touch on the one about how do you know if it's a bad behavior or a trauma behavior? This is a really, really important one. You can have both living in the same moment. So understanding trauma is not a reason to, bypass consequences. Consequences are going to happen. But what we do need to do is when you think about that, that illustration of the rocks in the middle of the road. So if we have a big blowing up behavior and maybe our child is screaming, let's use that as an example. They're screaming, I hate you. They're using all the 4-letter words. We know that all these things are not okay. But we can envision that there are rocks in the road between us and our child and the emotional regulation in the room. So before we can get to the consequence, that's not the moment to be like, and we'll never use 4-letter words in this house again. What we're doing is we're having to clear the path. Okay, we're going to clear the path first. So in that moment, let's just use it for instance, we're being very calm. Our child is screaming louder. I said I really hate you and I wish I'd never lived here. Okay, that really hurts and I get that. Yeah. So you're going to want to process that later because it stinks because we're human and we don't want to hear that. But in that moment, we're taking a deep breath. We're keeping ourselves emotionally regulated. When we have some windows, some openings, we're offering up some ideas. I'm actually kind of wondering, it's Father's Day today, and I know things have been kind of hard with your dad. Do you think it might be about that? You seem really angry today. Maybe our child shouts back, I effing told you I effing don't ever want to effing talk to you again. Okay. So we're still not going to talk like that, but also, all right, it's not about your dad. So we're kind of touching on some things. We're offering up some things when we get a break in the conversation, but we're staying regulated. So what we do then is we're showing our kids, I like to use Flip It. You can Google that. You can buy that course. It's worth, I don't know how much you can take the course for now, but it's great. It's written for preschoolers. Feelings, limits, inquiry, prompt, flip it. So remembering that our brain is flipped, it seems like you're feeling really stressed. We can't scream, yell, throw things, whatever the behavior is. Inquiry, that might be asking them. They might not be able to. So maybe we're offering up some things. It seems like you're really overwhelmed right now. So we're kind of offering up that idea and a prompt. Here's what we could do instead. Yeah. So we're helping that child to get their brain calm again. Once they're calm, there may be a moment where we have to say, shoot, really glad you got calm. Yeah. The thing I know about you is that you're a super good kid. You're a really good kid. And I know that you didn't mean that. We may wait for them to apologize, but maybe to say, I don't really hate you, Mom. For that, I know that. I could tell that you were really frustrated. Yeah. We do need to have a consequence because you screamed 4-letter words for the last, 30 minutes. Yeah. And we can't do that. So we are going to have a consequence, but I want you to know that the reason we're having a consequence is because I know that you're way better than this situation that just happened. So I hope that's helpful. But bad behavior or bad choices, poor choices, those can live in the same breath that a behavior is from trauma. Both things can be happening, but we're not ever going to move to the consequence or the discipline until all of us are emotionally regulated.
Yeah. Right, man. Lots of great questions have come in, and again, if we don't get to your question, we're going to try to get to as many as we can. That's part of the reason why we're doing that Zoom on Wednesday night. We're probably going to have to ask you guys to send us questions ahead of time because I have a feeling a lot of people have a lot of questions to answer.
Yeah, that's okay. There's a few more in here. My child doesn't want to talk to the therapist or doesn't want to go to the therapist. I saw a couple of those in there. There are a lot of strategies with therapy. I would encourage you to look for someone who does brain spotting is what we use at our house, or not at our house. I'm not a therapist. That's who we all see as somebody who is qualified to do brain spotting. The great thing about that is that they are able to work with someone who is qualified to help them kind of tap into those parts of the brain where that information is stored. And we can do that without talking. I recommend it because I've also done it. And I really thought it was a little nuts. I was like, that's not a thing. Until I did it the first time. And I was like, okay, actually, I feel like I addressed something that was kind of stuck in my brain for a long time that I wasn't ready to talk about. So I recommend that. I know a lot of people have some success with EMDR. That was not successful or helpful with our kid. It didn't help. That doesn't mean that that's not going to help with you. But there are a lot of strategies in therapy that can help our kids without having to, physically, verbally talk
Right.
about what's happened to
Yeah.
them. Yet they might be ready to do that later.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Did we get this one? There's one back here. Did we get this one already?
How do you manage power struggles and attention seeking behavior? Same as the answer about bad behavior or trauma behavior. We're going to decide outside of that situation what we are willing to do or not do. We may get caught up in it in the moment. That's okay, because we're human. So we might have to say something like, I actually can't answer this right now. I don't have an answer for you. I will have an answer for you by 7:00 tonight.
Yeah.
If we have a partner or a spouse, that would be the time when I'm like, hey, listen, Dad and I are going to have a little free time to talk about this tonight. I will let you know when I come into your room to say goodnight, what my answer is to that. That is going to be something like, how long am I going to talk about this subject for? How long is this child going to be able to dominate the conversation at dinner? There are a lot of strategies that we can use that we have to decide to use outside of that, moment. So it's not one answer all the time, but it might be something like telling the child ahead of dinner, hey, listen, I know that you're a big talker. That's me. I love to talk. But we're each going to take turns talking tonight. I'm wondering if you could come up with some questions to ask the other people at the table. We might set a timer. I want to hear how everyone's day went. And I want to give each one of us within 1 minute, tell us about your day. So we're kind of taking that power struggle away, and we're being preemptive about the strategies that we use.
Yeah.
Hope that helps.
Yeah. Let's see. I think this one right here relates. We can relate to this. What can we do if one of our adult kids is influencing our younger ones still living at home in a negative way about our parenting skills?
I think the best thing that we can do with that is stay in conversation with our kids.
Yeah, that's good.
So, we might have an older child or another family member who says, man, mom and dad are just so strict. They don't even care about you. They're so controlling. Man, your mom and dad, we never should have let them adopt you because they will never let you do all the amazing things you could have done if you would have lived with somebody different, whatever.
Yeah.
That's where we're staying in conversation with our kids. Hey, I overheard the thing that your brother told you the other day. Could we talk about that a little bit? Why do you think he might be feeling like we're always controlling? And usually there's a reason, right? We've said something to an older child, like you can't bring drugs in the house, or you can't tear doors off hinges, or you're grown now and we can't give you any more money because we already gave you some money. So whatever it is, maybe we've set a boundary with that older child. That's the point where we're talking with the younger child then about, like, where do you think that perspective came from? Yeah, I bet you're right. And the thing is, our kids are far more insightful than, what they'll show to us at first in that moment where they're mad at us. They've usually thought about this a lot more.
Yeah.
And chances are that even if that child shouts back at you because you are so controlling, chances are the fact that we're willing to have those conversations are going to help them. Remembering their brain's flipped in this moment, right? They've just talked about how much they hate you with their older sibling. So their brain is flipped. As that brain begins to calm down and the prefrontal cortex is functioning again, you may be able to cycle back to that conversation.
Yeah.
It seemed like you got really mad when we talked about your older sibling. I know that the boundary's been really difficult for them. Remember that we set boundaries for you guys because we love you and we want you to stay safe.
Yeah, this question right here from Christy and Rob. Any tips, magic words to get necessary things done, like a chore, a math lesson, when that thing is always or almost always triggering? How do we practice or build up our tolerance.
Yeah, and their tolerance.
And theirs,
There's a couple things. One, our kids need to understand how their brains work too. I think when we first started to learn these strategies, we thought, well, we have to be the keepers of all the parent information. That's my information, and now I'm going to go parent with it.
Yeah.
But we remember that we're raising humans, and that we want these humans to grow up and be able to face, things that feel intolerable, like math. Still sort of feels intolerable to me, but I get through it in little bite-sized pieces when I need to do my taxes or pay my bills or, balance out my budget. So we need to teach them how their brains are functioning also. So that's helping them to understand the things that do trigger them, that cause that prefrontal cortex not to be working. So when we're asking them to do dishes, but their brain is flipped, they can't remember the soap and then the sponge and then the rinsing and then the scraping. It's too many steps because they're triggered and they're upset. Their body's not functioning at its full potential. So let's teach our kids to understand how their bodies are functioning. And then let's start empowering them to be able to do some things to get themselves in a regulated state. So that could be something like, I know math is hard. It's really hard for me too. Let's sit down with this assignment and remember all those things we talked about that make you feel really good. Let's talk about some of those that we could bring to the table. So that could be something like chewing a piece of gum, getting on your comfy pajamas. Hey, before we do math, go ahead and run and grab your favorite outfit to wear, whatever is the most comfortable for you. Let's have a snack. I'm going to fix it for you. I'd like a snack too, because I don't love doing math either. So I'm going to sit with you. What do you want for a snack? So we're thinking about how their body gets the most regulated and at its very best before we attempt to get into the difficult thing. We're building tolerance for them too. As they understand how to regulate their own bodies, then we're challenging them. And we can do this even with smaller kids. We're actually going to do this a little bit longer. I know that the math is hard, and we're just going to start with 3 problems. Oh, now you're totally regulated. I see that you're ready to learn. I see that you're ready to do chores. I see you're in your comfy outfit. I see that you've had your snack. I see that you're listening to your music. That's awesome. Today, we're going to push it a little harder because I know that you're strong enough to do this. And we're going to do half the dishes instead of a quarter of the dishes tonight. That would be a math problem. I see that we're going to do, 7 math problems tonight before we press pause. So we're building their tolerance and we're building our tolerance too.
Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun. And listen, this is only session 1, right? What an amazing session, right? We still have 2 to go. I know there's a lot more questions. Bring those questions. 2 things. Send those questions over to the email we just dropped in there, training@honestlyadoption.com, because we would love to answer as many questions as possible. Tomorrow, we're talking about how to respond to these behaviors. So if you have a question about behaviors, save your question for tomorrow, because we think, number 1, a lot of your questions may be answered, but number 2, we're going to do a Q&A at the end again. And everything that you need to know about the workshop is over on the concierge page, which is traumaknowledgemasterclass.com/concierge. The link is also in your email. This has been a lot of fun, you guys. Again, downloads over there, slides are over there. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and sign off for today, but we look forward to connecting with you guys tomorrow. Thanks for being here for session 1, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Honestly Adoption Podcast, a resource courtesy of the Honestly Adoption Company. To learn more about us, visit www.honestlyadoption.com.